Alright, enough of that. So just going to go through the mod basically. It's going to start off with the instant origins, which will essentially make any character you want into an origin. So start with Alfira, because we love Alfira. So you have to choose the class, so I'll make her a paladin, Oath of the Vengeance. Just drag this down lower. There are all these other options. You can make her dark urge, hardlock the headgear, hardlock the clothes, unlock her features, that's on by default, unlock the colours on by default. You can also enable eye glow, which will give you settings to change the eye glow colour, and remove genitals, which is unrelated. So what you just do is make origin. It's just telling you have to rebuild and repack, which we'll do. Continue. It will run this, usually takes some minutes, usually less. And now it's done. So I'm going to stop this, reload the game, and bring back. Okay, so back in the game, new game, start game, loading in the background. So with the instant origins, that's literally all you have to do. Select who you want, choose the class and the subclass, and make them origin. If you try and do it when the game is running, it can't create the mod. You have to go to advanced and click build IO mod. Again, click build, that's it. Let's go into here, click for this. Now we can load up, and we have Alfira. And of course I set her to a paladin, Oath of the Agents. So with the appearances, so it will automatically make her what she is, which in this case is a tiefling. You can change that. I don't recommend doing it. You get weird sort of glitches, but you can. So if you go into edit appearances, everything has been unlocked for her. So Alfira's head already exists, so it defaults to head 6, but her face is there. Alfira's head. Her skin is there. Occasionally it gives tattoos. It's not perfect, so turn it off. Her eyes are an automatic colour, but you can change the eye colours to be whatever you want. Makeup, it will default to the correct makeup. Hair, so Alfira's hair gets created. You can change her hair though, like any other tab. Her hair colour is specific. This is a specific colour, but you could make her blonde if you wanted. You can add in the highlights. All that's per normal. Facial hair, if they have facial hair like Volo, it will unlock that for him, and horns. So she has ruin curves, but it should create Alfira's horns. So if it's a custom horn somewhere in the NPCs, they will create a new one. So if I click proceed, got my Alfira paladin, proceed, venture forth, this doesn't matter. Oh, so familiar. And we'll load up the game. And now stop zooming through, playing tutorial that we all know and love, and we are Alfira. Alfira, just like any other tab. Now we're going to look into some more instant origin features. So we're going to start with the Volo, who is a player race character. So a player race would be the elf, the tiefling, the drow, the human, the githyanki, the dwarf, the half-elf, the halfling, the gnome, the dragonborn, the half-orc. So what I've done is I've made these 3 Volos here, and as we can quickly see, there's this druid Volo, there's this paladin Volo, and then there's this technically warlock Volo, but you can see he's wearing his standard clothes. And these 3 Volos are because I have been changing these settings down here in the instant origin customization. So this first Volo, he's got nothing hardlocked, he's just his standard self, which by default creates a Volo's head, a Volo's skin, a Volo's eyes, Volo's beard, whatever it is you want. So specifically for the hat, so you can see Volo's wearing his hat. And while there is a Volo's headgear option, what it's done is we're going to change the hair to something else. And as you can see, the hair is operating independently of the hat. Now because his hat has been chosen as not hard locked, what it has done, it has created it as a set of horns. So I can turn that off. And the point of that is it so if I was to change him to a tiefling race, I could have him wear a hat, but I could also have him wear horns depending on what I wanted. Whereas if I go to this Volo, he has his hat / headgear hard locked on. So what happens is I've set the hat or I've turned the hat off, it doesn't matter because it's hard locked, but I can still move the hair independently underneath it. And the reason why you might want to hard lock the hat is it's so that when you change your Volo to a tiefling, so as you can see he's got his lovely long locks, he has his hat on, because the hat is hard locked, you can put horns independently of that. And you can of course still change the hair to be whatever you want. So you can have those moving independently. It's just if you want to. By default the hat is removable. The hat is not armor, it is actually forming part of his character base. So it would either be defined as a horn or as hair, depending on how you set it up. So the other thing is when it's created, as I mentioned, it creates Volo's head and it puts it under body type 2 of a human because that's what Volo is. But if I was to go through here and create a custom tab and create a drow, what I have done is, because I have selected unlock features down here in the instant origin customization, as well as unlock colors, it has created a Volo head on whatever is compatible. And this is what Volo looks like without his beard. So it also would have unlocked his beard. So we all know that drows don't have facial hair, but this would unlock it for every compatible race. So in this case, Volo drow Volo has a beard. And of course you can change the hair. And you can put his hat on him as well. It goes a different color, which is unusual. I have to look more into that, but it is there. So this, of course, is the drow version of Volo. Now, as opposed to Zatheno, Zatheno is the dryad from the circus. So let me just quickly pull her up in here. So Zatheno, being a dryad, even though dryads look vaguely humanoid female, they actually have slightly different body types. And I think it's a slightly curvier figure, a little bit taller. So what happens is when you bring her up in the instant origins, you see down here in this little box, the hard lock close option is grayed out, and that is because it has become different. So what it has given you instead is keep unique plus close, keep unique only, as well as these unique sizing options. So you select either a small gnome, an average human, or a large human for sizing. So these four Zathenos have been set up differently. So this one has her clothes hard locked, which would be the keep unique plus clothes. And this is because if you try dressing this standard female dryad in normal armor, it just doesn't work. She doesn't have the skeleton set up to put clothes on Zatheno. Her body type is different. You can have to have this dress that is included. So if you wanted to play as a dryad, you've got the dress here, you've got her features, you just can't change the armor. What you could do if you wanted, I'm going to turn this around so you don't see anything scandalous. What you could do is, if you did not want the dress, so say you're doing a romance scene where it makes no sense for her to be wearing clothes, if you know what I mean, you could strip out those clothes by having it say keep unique only. And as you can see, I'm not going to turn it too far, she's not wearing clothes. Now, Zatheno has retained the leaf pattern on her, that's part of her body figure, as well as the tattoos. But let's say you just really love Zatheno, but you do want to change her clothes. Well, then you pick this option, and what I've done in this case is I've changed her from being a unique to being an elf. Elf being very much the equivalent. You can change that to whatever suits. So in Zatheno's case, it's a slim femme elf. So here is her body type, and as you can see, she's wearing the standard ranger clothes. This is because her clothes are customizable. So if I was to change her to a barbarian, you can see you can change the clothes, and she retains her skin color. She does not, though, retain the tattoos that are on her body. So as you can see, whoops, I have to censor that out. As you can see, Zatheno has tattoos. This Zatheno, if I put her as a barbarian, she does not have those tattoos. That is because we have changed this body that she's got into a slim elf body. And you can see the slight join around her neck. That is because Zatheno is very slightly taller and very slightly more curvy than the average elf. So it is enabled to let you do that. Occasionally you may get those clipping errors depending on how different the character is. Zatheno, you could probably ignore that because it's very close. If you put a different character in who has very different body shape, it's going to be more distinctive. But you can do whatever you want, any way you want it. And of course, Zatheno as well unlocks her head. You could change her features, change her skin, change her hair, change her eyes, whatever it is you want to do. And then you've got Zatheno. So for this one, I have deliberately screwed it up. So when I clicked unique over here, I didn't click elf, I clicked gnome. And as you know, gnomes are a lot smaller. So what this has done is it created a conflict in the game where it thinks that she is a gnome and a deep gnome. So when I zoom in, it's zooming in at where the face is supposed to be, which is around the standard elf's navel. You can also see her hands are missing, and if I change her class, you can see her body is missing. That is because there's too much of a conflict between her settings and the race that you've tried to impose on her. So again, if you have your elf Zatheno, it works a lot better. You can zoom in, it knows where her face is, it has the different clothes, and it's again with the neck issue, but it is generally imperceivable, versus the gnome where it's wrong. So I just did that to show that if you did screw it up and make the wrong choice, it's not going to break your game, it's not lead to catastrophic failures, it's just not going to work the way you wanted. You can't have Zatheno's head on a short race body or a tall race. So let me show you. If I went to custom, so I've created a gnome and I went to edit appearances, there's no Zatheno head option and there is no Volo head option. If I was to make a gnome, say Barkus, then his head would appear here, skin tone, all of that. Now the reason for this is when I was testing it out, if I created a Zatheno as a gnome, her head would be floating way up above her body because Zatheno's head is set to work there, not set to be a gnome. If there are any modders out there who want to help me try and fix that, so you could theoretically put Zatheno's head on a gnome body, it wouldn't be something that we couldn't do case by case. We would have to create some sort of setting prototype so that people could create whoever they wanted. If anyone thinks that might be possible, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to work with you and implement that into the mod. So yeah, so we have, as I said, unlock the features, hard locking headgear, hard locking clothes, unique characters without their clothes, unique characters that are more customizable, and of course broken characters will lead to these sorts of problems. So I've actually come back to add this section in later. I've almost finished the video. So this is the extract clothing object. It was existing before, I hadn't implemented it, but I decided with the release of this really long video that I might as well include everything. So for this extract clothing, it will take the clothing from the character and make it armor. And now it will only work on the body type of the character it was taken off. So for example, Volo, he's a slim mask. It will only work on slim masks. That's just the way it's designed because they're designed for the NPC. They're not designed as a standard armor to have different varieties depending on who it goes on. So it's not going to switch between a large female half-orc versus a small gnome. It's just going to be the set body type for, in this case, Volo. So Volo, if we look down here in the extract full items, has an extract headgear and extract full outfit option. So we just have to select those and we'll click extract clothing. And what's that just done has created a little mini mod that will put those items in the game. So it's called it Volo's hat and Volo's outfit. So I'm going to unselect those so it doesn't make duplicates, and then we're going to focus on this extract independent components. What this means is that Volo's body basically is made up of 4 parts. So there's this one which is the body A, the pants A, the belts A, and the collar A. So when we built this full outfit, this made all 4 of those combine into one outfit, and I'll show you exactly how that works. But what I've given you the ability to do is to actually keep the components as separate components. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to have a body A be Volo's shirt, and the pants are going to be Volo's pants, and we're going to leave those as armor for now because I'll show you what happens. And then we'll have the belts, Volo's belt, and then Volo's collar. And we're going to make his belt into gloves, and we're going to make his collar into headgear. And that is so that we can have this belt at the same time we're having the headgear. So what we'll find is when we boot these through the game, we can either wear the shirt or we can wear the pants because they're both armor. So what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to extract those as well. So that's done. So now I'm going to unselect these and I'm going to make the pants something different. So I'm just going to make those into boots. Volo's pants / boots. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm just going to create that so that we're going to have 2 pant options. One of them which is an armor setting slot and the other which is a boot setting slot. So I'm going to extract that. And then the other thing we can do is we can actually lock things. So I'm going to take the first one, I'm going to lock it to the second one, and I'm going to call it Volo's shirt and pants and make it an armor one. So what that will do is it will combine this body A and pants A into one armor slot or cloak slot, whatever it is. So we'll make it an armor slot. So theoretically what we're going to be able to do is have, I'll extract this before I forget, is we're going to be able to have a whole bunch of these items. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, and we are back. So once again we've just loaded up the game because of course you have to build the mod and then boot the game because you can't put a mod in midway through the game. So I'm just going to select Volo and now you can see this C extract clothing button. So I'm going to click this, I'm going to move this out of the way. These are the clothes that we just made. So there's the Volo's hat, the Volo's outfit, the Volo shirt, the Volo pants, the Volo belt, the Volo collar, the Volo pants and boots, and then the Volo shirt and pants. And you can see the little icon here which says it's merged. That's so it can remind you which one it's merged with. So the outfit is obviously the 4 main visual components. The shirt and pants were that merged one. So I've just quickly done this to add to Tev. Hopefully it works. There we go. So it has created Volo's hat and it's just given it a placeholder icon for the moment, which is kind of annoying. So if I try and put this on Dirge, it doesn't work because it is designed just for Volo. So I'm just going to send that to Astarion. So then I'm going to have Volo's outfit. So I'm going to send that to Tav. So most of the time they won't have an icon, but as you can see when I hover over the top of it, it has Volo's outfit, and I'll also put a little generic description in there. I may even end up giving you the ability to set more settings, so light armor and things like that, set it light, heavy, but that's for later. So as you can see, if I put this on Dirge, it is just loading up Volo's body. It does not work. So I'll send that to Astarion as well. The next one is Volo's shirt, so I'm going to add that to Tav. Again, Volo's shirt, and as you can see, it's hard to tell with the Dirge, but it is just the shirt. So I'll send that to Astarion. Volo's pants, Volo's belt, Volo's collar, Volo's pants/boots, and Volo's shirt/pants. You can make changes to these after they've been created just by going through here and making the changes, but they won't reflect in the game straight away. You have to rebuild the mod by saving changes. So I'm just going to send these all to Astarion because he's gorgeous and he can wear it. So here is our beautiful model. So I'm just going to put Volo's hat on him, and just like that, he's got Volo's hat, which is green, which is an unusual little quirk. So it clips into his hair because it's just a hat. I haven't done any preparation. So that's his hat. That's this one that we've just done. And the next one is Volo's outfit. So this has put Volo's whole outfit on Astarion. And you could do that with any NPC's outfit in the world that you like. And I believe if I've set this up right, it will let you dye it as well. There we go. So it is dyeable. So you can change Volo's outfit. You could also, and this goes back to when we do the NPC customization, you could take Volo's outfit, change the color, put it back on Volo, and just have the outfit change to be whatever you want, but still be Volo's outfit. So I'm going to put this down here. So that was the Volo's outfit we just tried. So now we're just going to see the Volo's shirt, which is this one. And as you can see, Astarion is just free and loose wearing just the shirt. And again, the shirt is dyeable. I'm going to, gosh, I hate the dyeing system in this. And then we're going to combine that, and he now has a pink shirt. So let's put that here. So then we're going to have a look at Volo's pants. Again, it's just his pants. That's a fetching look. We're going to dye those red. I'm going to just move this, save myself a bit of time. Combine that. You can see his pants are now red. Who invented this dyeing system? I recommend Az's Easy Dye. That works a lot better. It's a great mod. It's packed. So then we've got Volo's belt. So if you just wanted the belt that's there, you could add that as part of another item. So let's say you put it on and you really want to have Volo's belt with Astarion's. You can add it as an addendum. You just have to put it. So the belt is a glove, and as you can see, it's gone into the glove slot. Sorry. So you can see it goes into the glove slot. So you could put it anywhere else. You can occasionally put it as rings and amulets, but I have to look into that with more detail because sometimes they don't load in. And I think it's because rings and amulets are not generally something as seen. But for the main ones here, they're all interchangeable. You can also add it as camp clothes if you wanted. So I put the belt in. Now let's make the belt a colour. Oh my goodness. So I haven't set these up. These are just the settings in game. So it's all pretty cool that it can come through. And then Volo's collar. I think that's Volo's collar, is it? Yes, so Volo's collar, which is the ruff, which is great. Now I think, I'm just going to quickly check. I think if I put that on Dirge, no, it doesn't work. Oops, never mind. I was hoping I'd figured something out, but I haven't. So then we put the ruff on, turn the ruff red. So the ruff doesn't colour, so it's a hit and miss sort of thing. I think that's probably because the ruff is extra, whereas these other ones do form part of an in-game outfit. And then there's the shirt and pants, and this was what we talked about. Oh, I have accidentally set them to boots. So you can layer things if you want. So because I've accidentally set them to boots, oh no, I didn't accidentally do it. Because they're Volo's pants/boots and they're filling up the boots slot, you could actually layer things over the top of them like that. So if we look for Volo's shirt, you can put that here. So you could mix and match the outfits. So you've got the Volo's pants, you've got the Volo's shirt. So you could dye them independently and create something quite cool if you wanted then. Pants on, belt on, shirt on. So the other thing it's worth mentioning is I did say before about setting the shirt and the pants both to armor. So let's find, that's not the one we want. So pants, so you can see the pants are in the armor slot, and these are the red pants we were talking about. So then if we go to his shirt, because that's also an armor item, it's just going to switch out. So you can only have one of those active at the same time, which is why we did that other one, which is the Volo's pants slash boots, and then it's separate to Volo's shirt. And as you can see, it's filled the pants have gone in the boot slot, and the shirt has gone in the armor slot, because those are ones that we can change. And then we'll just change that again, independently dyeable. So the dyeing system is going to be hit and miss by the sounds of it. You'd have to experiment with the different characters and the different clothing. It just depends on how Larian has set them up. Obviously with the ruff, doesn't sound as though they've made that dyeable, because it was never intended to do this. Let's try it just one more time, maybe we'll get lucky. Unfortunately not, but hopefully that is a feature that you will enjoy, and I'm going to keep working on this. This is just very basic setup. So we're on the tutorial with our Tau Valfira. I'm just going to quickly go through how the cutscenes work. So all of this information you don't have to worry about really for the time being. We're just going to focus on here. So the search and filter cutscenes. So here are all the cutscenes down here, and there are like 3,781, I believe. So you can search by name. So if you know it contains Astarion, you can narrow it down to just the ones that have Astarion in the title. But let's say you don't know the name, and I don't expect you to know the name. You could also search by act. So if you know that the scene takes place in Act 1B, and you know it takes place in the Astral Prison, you know that you have these 4 scenes that take place in the Astral Prison. You could also search by characters. So let's say that you know the character Cerise is in the scene. Well, Cerise is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scenes. If you wanted to narrow it down even further, you know that the scene involves Cerise and also Hausen. So you can narrow that down, and it's just this one scene with Cerise and Hausen. You could also do a search by text feature. So let's say you remember the line, everything is about power. Now, you can search also automated dialogue, party banter, voice barks, and party automated dialogue, and you can do that up here in the search and filter as well. There's an entire tab just for those ones, so we won't worry about those for the moment. We're just going to search the dialogue cutscenes, the standard scenes. So we're going to do this search. Everything is about power. This search can take up to a minute on my computer sometimes, because it is searching 3,915 scenes. But anyway, it is searched for everything is about power. I just found this one, and it comes down here with a dialogue preview, and you can read it through and work out if that's the scene that you wanted. Say you found something more generic like hello, do a dialogue search, it'll take a minute to load up. And these are all the scenes where they say hello. Obviously the more specific you can get, the better. Easy to find what you're looking for. So if you're a modder, you are familiar, there is the name of the scene. So in this case it's camp underscore Astarion underscore CRD underscore scar reading. There's a dialogue ID, the timeline ID, the dialogue file ID. So you can use this as a lookup function. Now if you're not a modder, don't worry about it, you don't need to worry about that. You would probably be better off searching for favorites. So these are 5 that I have marked as my favorite. They're not actually my favorite, I just wanted to show them off. But you can all remove from favorites fairly easily, and if you find a scene that you like, make it your favorite and you can very easily find it again. So the thing to think about is the speakers. So there are a lot of speakers options here. So we're going to focus on the alternate speakers, the optional speakers, and the normal speakers. So the speakers list is, in this case, speaker 0 is Lucia, speaker 1 is a player, speaker 2 is a peanut. A peanut is a placeholder. You don't need it to pick a peanut, but you can, it'll put them in there. We're just going to leave it blank. Number 3 is us, we know us, and number 4 is someone who I haven't put the name in yet because they're a generic placeholder again. So for this scene you can switch between Lucia and Lae'zel. For those of you who have played a Lae'zel origin, you know that she does not jump from the pillar behind you. Lucia does. So we're going to play it first with the alternate speaker being Lae'zel. So all we have to do is click Lae'zel, she will replace herself in the speakers, play, and it'll play this scene with Lae'zel as speaker 0, which is a completely different scene, so everyone would have seen this. So you can see her in the background climbing up, she jumps.
This is your end.
Skip you through because we've all played this 100 times.
As for that,
And then we want change it to Lucia. Click, play. And we're running around again, but if you've played the Lae'zel Origins, you know that this is not Lae'zel up on the pillar. It's Lucia.
Another survivor. We may yet see an end to this torment.
And it will play Lucia's cutscene, not Lae'zel's. So that's alternate speakers. So the optional speakers, there's something different. Let's find a good one. So there's this scene where the optional speaker is speaker 2 could be Shadowheart. If you look over in the speakers, it says a null. You do not have to put an optional speaker in. So let's play it without her. Play cutscene, no Shadowheart. As you can see, it's not blocked. If I open the speakers, it's still a null.
Once inside, do as I say.
But let's say hypothetically we did want to put her in. Click button, she automatically fills in the speakers, play cutscene.
We are nearing the helm. Once inside, do as I say.
And Shadowheart is in this scene.
I'll trust my own.
So as you can tell, that's pretty hard to screw up because it's either on, off, or if you went back to the original one, Lucia or Lae'zel. You can't screw this up. I've made it unscrew-uppable. So I have just quickly jumped to this level, which is Dirge in the Swamp, just to show off a few things. So this is the Quick Actions box. Whoops. Quick Actions. So you can enable the override to control these if you want, but you don't have to. So first thing is you might want to add gold. Just if you need it for whatever reason. 10,000 gold, 10,000 gold, 30,000 gold. Oh, if only it were that easy in the real world. You can also toggle between the Putrid Bog and the Sunlit Wetlands. You can do that as many times as you like. If you're in the Shadow Curse lands, you can make yourself immune, and if you're in the Last Night Inn, you can mark it as safe. And then, of course, we've already done Detect Thoughts, Speak with Animals. So the other thing is you can go to Camp, and you can toggle between day and night mode. So depending on what sort of scene you want to take place in the camps, this is good for companions. Scenes just saves you having to do it yourself. The common transforms is just a little shortcut I put in for Will, Shadowheart, Gale and Karlach. So I'm just going to quickly teleport Will to the player, teleport Shadowheart to the player, teleport Gale to the player, teleport Karlach to the player. Oh, Gale is stuck in the portal. So for Will, you can toggle him between human and devil. And it will just change him as it is, change him back. He seems pretty chill about it. Shadowheart, make him a Sharon or a Selûnite. Easy peasy, just a glance. Somewhere Gale is toggling between a wizard and a god. He is currently stuck in the portal. You can't just pull him out that easily. And then Karlach, she can be a tiefling, or you can also shortcut her to doing an Illithid. I could have done Astarion turning into a zombie, but I could not make myself do that to my beloved Astarion. So, while it's just loading in the background, we are going to do Plea at the Gate, which is the scene when you're approaching the Grove and Aradin and his crew are attacked by the goblins. So you can see they've got my dirge here. So we've picked the scene and we're now going to go to speakers. So if you look down the bottom here, you can see all the speakers listed. So Aradin, Zevlor, Canon, the player, Barth, Ramira, Arca, the Warg and Will. So what we do is we're going to transform these speakers. So let's start with Cazador. Let's make Aradin into Cazador. So what you do is you go down here to where it says Q and you can queue them. Then we're going to turn R in the red, make Zevlor into R in the red. Going to make Canon into Gortash. We're queuing these all up. The player into Barnabas. Now as you can see, nothing has happened to Dirge yet. It's just queued, it's not doing it yet. And this allows you options to play around without getting too overwhelmed. Let's make Mistra going to be the villain of the act. Konya, Esmermira, Blackith, there's Arca, and we will give Alfira front and centre with Will. Now the difference with the Warg is the Warg has essentially a different skeleton than the usual humanoid player races. So player races you can swap without too much drama, but when you come to the Warg, you can't change the Warg without bad things happening. If you want to see what happens, look back on one of my earlier trailers and you can see what happens when I tried to turn the Warg into Elminster. So we're just going to turn the Black Warg into the White Warg. Now what you can do, you don't have to do this, so we're going to go to this player one and we're going to click this transform button. And as you can see, the player has just turned into Barnabas. We can remove that. Oh yes, I remembered I accidentally mixed up the buttons, so we're going to clear that. And we can queue it again. So we're going to make him a Warg, transform him into a Warg, clear the Warg. I have these buttons reversed for some reason. So now that we've got that, we're going to go up here. So Aradin is Khazad-dûm, Zevlor is Orin, Cannon is Gortash, Bath is Mistra, Ramira is Viconia, Arca is Vlaakith, the Black Warg is a White Warg, and Will is Alfira. Play scene.
Open the bloody gate! Nobody gets in! Zevlor's orders!
So you can see with this that they've still got all of their original audios. Because what's happened is the main characters have just been transformed into the new ones.
Where is the druid? Please!
Go through as fast. Just let Alfira have her entrance.
And suffer its sting.
And that's how you transform the speakers. Now they're still transformed in the overworld, so if you want to go through, you can just clear them off. And they go back to normal. So this is the God mode. So we've got player, chosen character, vessel, character. Now the vessel is mostly for transform, and also so you can just have two on the go whenever you want. So for example, because Alfira is the vessel, you can click transform and you can transform player to Astarion, Astarion to player, Astarion to Alfira, Alfira to Astarion. Easy peasy. We're going to just ignore Alfira for the minute and focus on Astarion. So firstly I'll make him a companion. So you can kill him, you can resurrect him, you can teleport him if you want. So at the moment they're simple. You can teleport between those 3 points basically, and there will be more complicated ones. So you can put in, if you know the trigger, you can put it there. If you know the XYZ, you can put it there. Otherwise I will just give you locations and pop you in the middle of them. So it should make scenes a lot easier for companion and camp, which is a lot more flexible on location. So say you wanted to do Astarion doing Will's dance underneath a Sasor tree. That would be how you do it. You would just come into the teleport and click Sasor tree, and it would put him there immediately, and the scene would play from there. So the visual effects is a fun little thing, which would be good for doing cutscenes. So there's Astarion's beautiful face there. Now we're going to ruin his beautiful face with bruises and blood and sweat and dirt and makeup and partial littered and poop.
Now that's dedication.
So you can tell what a bit of a mess he's had. So we're just going to talk to him now.
You have a manner of irresistible desperation.
And yet somehow still sexy.
I like it.
So it's going to leave there, and then you can clear the visuals. And he's gone back to his gorgeous self. So if you wanted to transform him, this is also how you do that. Because Alfira is chosen as the vessel. Oh, I've got too many pop-ups. Alfira is chosen as the vessel. You can just transform Astarion to Alfira. So Alfira, you can click transform only, copy equipment only, copy and transform and copy equipment. Because she is an NPC and the clothes are hard locked, it wouldn't matter. So if I click transform only, it brings her clothes with her because her clothes form part of her model. Whereas if I was to transform Shadowheart, and then we're going to open up this Alfira character, so you can see she is wearing Astarion's clothes. It's just her model is wearing her hard locked clothes over the top. Whereas if I transform Astarion to Shadowheart, transform only, she is wearing Astarion's clothes. Then if I remove the disguise, he goes back to himself. Alternatively, I could transform Astarion to Shadowheart, but transform and copy equipment, which means he'd get her equipment as well. Then of course, remove disguise, but he's still wearing her equipment, so we just quickly put his own back. So what we can do now is I'm going to close this, and I'm going to search Alfira. So I'm going to find Alfira, then we're going to teleport the player to Alfira. So here we are, listening to that song, and we're going to do something very cool. So we have our Alfira here. We can talk to her as per normal.
This song will be the death of me.
Too sweet.
And then we're going to pull her up in the God mode. So we've selected Alfira, we know that's Alfira. Just be cautious because there are sometimes multiple options. So this Alfira with her horn broken is a template that happens after a certain scene we do not discuss. Just make sure you have the real one. I've tried to always make sure that the real one is just that name. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here. Now this Make Instant Origin button that I'm hovering over, that will be activated. I just haven't tied it into this yet because I'm still doing the testing. But if you can remember from the start of the movie, we made Alfira into an Instant Origin. So she is in the system at the moment. We'll go back to God mode and we can click this Customize Alfira button. Now this will open up the character creation screen just as the default. So you've got your standard default tab here. You've also got, of course, Astarion, Lae'zel, Gale, Shadowheart, Will, Karlach, and the Dark Urge. And you have the Alfira that we made in Instant Origins. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So we're going to edit her appearance. So I'm just going to give her pink skin. I'm going to give her a cool tattoo. Make her eyes purple. Heavy makeup. Crazy hair, purple crazy hair, facial hair, you know, she likes a bit of a mustache, she's a dashing sort of Alfira, and horns. Now you also can change the faces if you like, but I'm just going to leave it as the Alfira head to prove the point. So we have our Alfira here. Proceed, Alfira, proceed. This doesn't matter at this stage, so this character is not going to replace your other one. So you can just skip that. And we wait for it to load. And this is now Alfira.
Words of mine will. Oh, this song will be the death of me.
And Alfira will appear that way throughout the game as long as nothing interferes with her template. So for example, you may have some complications if you have Will, you have him transformed for whatever reason, just like in the Alters Appearances mod, and you transform him into the devil with Mizora. Because that's a template, it will go over the top and it may cause confusion. You may have to manually change it on a few characters. But you can very easily. Oh, and the reason she is not playing her lute is because when you have made her the Alfira...
This song will be the death of me.
Excuse me. So if I add her as a companion, she's also now a companion. So what happens is, because she is armed, she's no longer got her lute. So if we put her lute back, and we remove her as a companion, in a second she will flick back. It's just because the lute was in the wrong spot, so she was doing the behaviour but there's nothing to work it off. So if you wanted, you could remove the disguise, restores her back to the way it was. So I'm just going to quickly dress her up again. So we're back here. Alfira's now blonde, just to make the point. So put back through. So what you can do here as well, so we've already shown how to remove the disguise. We can strip her clothes off. And the reason is because she is now a tab template. She is customizable in a way that the standard Alfira wasn't. So I'm going to have to censor this bit, but let's make her a companion. And we're going to send Dirge her clothes. Unfortunately I've censored that one, but she is now wearing Dirge's clothes. So you can dress her up however you want. Remove companion, she'll just go back to her normal state, dressed however you want. Again, don't forget to re-equip standard equipment if you want their standard NPC behaviour to work. So she will return, and she will stay that way for the game unless something interferes with her transform, and occasionally that will happen. I'm probably just going to have to create a little code on the cutscenes that say it will happen here. And then you can create copies of her. This creates copies of the original. I discovered this sort of by accident. Someone was very helpful and sent me a code when I was doing character testing. I have no idea if it's any use at all to anyone, but it's here anyway. So we're currently looking at the Gossip tab, and the Gossip is automated dialogue, party banter, and voice sparks. So these are not cutscenes. So these are when you're walking around in the world and you get that bit of text over the top of their heads and they start talking to each other. These are the 4 categories of that. And of course we've got the search and filter, the search or gossip by text, and the dialogue preview. This is just like what we already went through on the cutscene tab. Except that it's not searching cutscenes. This is only searching for the automated dialogue, party banter, voice box, and you can narrow it down. Again, search by act, location, sublocation, the characters that are in it, put in a UID override, or you can search by the text if you know what you're trying to say. And of course the dialogue preview will appear just like it did. So let's just give this a try. Let's go for voice box. So we're going to start with the voice box, and if we scroll down, you've got all the voice box here. Again, you can narrow it down as you like. So the voice box are only done within your party. So I'm going to pick this one, and I'm just going to play voice box.
What the? This stuff is everywhere.
Play another one. Oops. this one I'm still updating, so some of them are not quite correct.
Nothing's happening, but it doesn't look broken.
So these are the voice sparks. You can also change it to, say, Astarion. I'm just going to quickly, where are we? Teleport him to us.
You there?
There he is.
Come here. It doesn't look broken. Then again, none of us do.
So you can change that, and if you change it, let's open this up. So we've got the voice sparks. So this is the same voice spark, which is the Underdark Arcane Tower VB lift blocked. So depending on which character you choose, so Tav would say nothing's happening, but it doesn't look broken. Astarion says it doesn't look broken, then again none of us do. Shadowheart says not a budge, better take a look around. And if I right click, teleport Shadowheart to player, I'll just quickly add her as a companion so she doesn't wander off. And then I click this voice spark.
Not a budge. Better take a look around.
So you can also change these, so with the flags. So we did briefly talk about the flags when we're looking at the dialogue tree. So we can change them here. And what happens if I put this flag on, you can see her text is changing from not a budge, better take a look around, to still nothing, bloody contraption. So if I play a voice spark,
Still nothing. Bloody contraption.
and then if I put this one in, or perhaps not that one, this one is powered by magic, it seems. Now just to get it working.
Powered by magic, it seems. Now to just get it working.
And because this is still in the initial testing phases, I will be making it so that these are mutually exclusive if they're mutually exclusive. So obviously if you're clicking both of those, nothing is changing for Shadowheart. But if it's just that, if it's neither of them, it's this. If it's this one, it's that one. So those are the voice sparks. So then we'll go to Party Banter, and we're going to narrow this down by saying it was Astarion and Shadowheart, just because they're there. So as you load it up, it comes on the side. So this one should have Astarion talking to Gale, who talks to Shadowheart, but we're just going to narrow this one down. So Astarion will say, goblins are such vile little parasites, and Shadowheart will say, not the vilest any of us have seen.
Goblins are such vile little parasites.
I've got a long road ahead.
Not the vilest any of us have seen of late, unfortunately.
And then of course you can change the tags, sorry, the flags again in this case, so it would change the line, and so Astarion would say the same thing. Shadowheart is going to say, given your own nature.
Goblins are such vile little parasites.
Given your own nature, are you really the one to judge?
So then there's the party automated dialogue. So these are different characters. This one is the newest one. It hasn't quite been updated yet. Let's just try this one, party automated dialogue.
I don't know what I slept on, but my neck's killing me.
And then this flag does not do anything. So as I said, this part is the one I'm just testing out at the moment. So that's that. And then we've got the auto. So I'm just going to quickly go over the act jumping abilities. So when you are running a scene, you can only really run it where it's supposed to be. So if this act in particular, this look at locations, so this one about the Captain Beast, it's supposed to take place in Act 1B, the Githyanki Creche in the Captain's Quarters. If you are running a companion or a camp scene, they're a lot more flexible. They can basically take place anywhere. Anything else and you start getting into problems. So what I've got is I've got three options. So you can set it to check before act jump, suppress act jump, and force act jump. So what this means, if you have force act jump on, and if I was to click this button, this play cutscene up the top, it would automatically take me to Act 1B. And it wouldn't ask any questions, it wouldn't check with me. And that would usually be fine, because if you run it on a scene where you are already in that act, it doesn't do anything. If you're in Act 1 and you run the code to jump to Act 1, it will not jump you anywhere. The problem became when I was doing the Iron Throne and the Act 3B ones, because the Iron Throne is a subsection of Act 3B. If you are in Act 3B and you run the code jump to Act 3B, it will take you to the Iron Throne. If you're in the Iron Throne and you run that code again, it will take you back to the lower city. So you couldn't run any of those scenes because you were just constantly bouncing back and forth between the two of them. So I also put in the suppress act jump. So if I was to click this button now, I'm clicking this play cutscene, nothing is happening because the suppress act jump is on. So it's taken out that one bit of code that would otherwise send me to the Iron Throne, but because I'm not on the right act, the scene can't play. What I'd recommend is putting on this check before act jump button. Let me just pull over the script extender. This is where the codes all go. Check before act jump is on. And we're just going to put it onto Captain Beast so we can check this, and then we're going to click play cutscene. And as you can see, it's done this little check, and it's basically asked the game where the character is, where Dirge is in this case, and then it's come back and told us. It knows the scene is in the Githyanki Creche, and it knows that we're in the wilderness, so it is telling us to act jump, to suppress the jump, or to cancel it. So I can cancel it, easy peasy. I can run it again, it's just checking we're in the wilderness. I can suppress the jump, but nothing will happen because we're in the wrong act. Alternatively, I click it, runs it again, and I can act jump, and it will automatically take me to Act 1B in this case. So this little pop-up, it will start playing the scene automatically if you wait. So I've given it 20 seconds. I've got a slightly faster computer, it took a lot less than 20 seconds. So if I click play cutscene now, I won't actually click it, but just to point the point, it will just start playing the cutscene because I'm in the right spot. But I'm just going to wait until it automatically runs down, and I'm going to show you that the scene will play automatically. I'm going to move that out of the way. And now we've played that scene. I'm just going to move. So while we're here, we have these 4 dialogue options for Dialog. So I can zoom in a little bit. So the options for this cutscene are: if we both stop eating cultists, she'll have to stop. If she keeps making me eat armor, I'm going on a hunger strike. Panting and barking. And I'm also just going to go to the advanced tab and turn on dialogue choices. So this first one is, if we both stop eating cultists, she'll have to stop. And you can see on the right here, the live dialogue script is creating the script. Now, because this is only the one node, there's only one line. So because I'm going to click play cutscene, we have the dialogue tracker.
If we both stop eating cultists, she'll have to stop.
And the point of this is, if you're going through a long scene and you're trying to get one particular soundbite to use in a clip of some kind, or you just want to explore that one, this will create a long script, and you would know what options to choose when you got to that point. I'll show you more about that later. But I'll just turn that off for now, because we don't really need it. So we've just done that one where he said, if we both stop eating cultist, all you have to do is click the one you want, click play cutscene.
If she keeps making me eat armor, I'm going on a hunger strike.
And then this one, play cutscene. You can see he's just panting. And this one, he's just barking. Play cutscene. Now, for people who know about dialogue, you know that what is happening in these 4 scenes is flags are being set. So it's in here in the advanced P&D if you need it. If you are not a modder, you're not caring about dialogue, this does not matter at all, but this gives you the ability to check flags, check tags, set tags, required flags, required tags per, and the path. You can also load in your custom dialogue if you have some files you want to play with. This is basically what the Divinity Engine or the toolkit does, but I've tried to make it a little bit more user-friendly. For average people, just all you need to know is that each scene has what's called flags and tags. So in this case, the outcome for this one, so let's just update it, let's not actually run it. So this flag here, which says Crash Captain Beast has met, that's off, but this one is on, as so is the pet pal, which is how come we are managing to get this outcome. If we change it to this one, which basically the pet pal is off, pet pal is speak with animals. This is not refreshing the way it should, but it will send it. So the pet pal should be off, and then this one would be on. So it's sending your 4 outcomes, but all you have to do, if you don't know what you're doing, you can completely ignore this. It's all done automatically. And you can just pick what you want, play the cutscene, and it will play. That's all you have to do.
If she keeps making me eat armor, I'm going on a hunger strike.
Now I want to go into how location works. So I'm just going to quickly play this scene again to remind us all. Oh, there's a lighting error on that one. That's fine, it happens sometimes. So as you can see, that scene just took place where in the captain's quarters, because that's where Dahak is currently located. So the scene always takes place at the location of speaker 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to teleport Dahak to player, and he falls asleep for some reason. So I'm just going to quickly kill and resurrect, just to sort of force a reset, because if you try and run a scene on a sleeping character, it won't work. So now I'm going to play the cutscene again. And as you can see, the scene is now taking place where Dahak is now, which is out here in the Rosimone Monastery Trail. If I play it again, play it again. If I move Dirge a little bit, he sometimes moves the background. So what you can do is, I'm just going to quickly add Dahak as a companion. So let's say you were in the location that you wanted to be, but the cutscene just wasn't quite as perfect as you wanted it to be. You could just move the character around, put him exactly where you wanted to be, play the scene again, and he would be in this new location. So what I plan to do, and I haven't implemented this yet, so I'm just going to sort of go around it, is I'm going to give you the ability to override location, which is just by clicking that on the location tab. So this is not properly set up yet, but you can see you would have the axe, you would have the locations, oh, shouldn't scroll, and the sublocations. I haven't set those up yet. So I'm just going to go down here to the search and filter cutscenes and show you what that might look like. So it might be that we're in Act 1B, that's what we want to do. And we want the location to be in the Githyanki creche, and specifically we want it to be in the infirmary. And then that would give you up here, when those are selected, it would essentially run a code that would place speaker 0 in whatever location you've just opted for them to be. Sorry, let's not confuse things. Wherever you've opted them to be, and then the scene would take place there, and you could do that all through the tool. You don't have to necessarily make them run around. So if I close all that off, you could also have overrides. So if you've ever done any modding or SE coding before, that you know that you can place the character at the XYZ position, or that there are certain trigger points you could put in. I will also give you an override, so you'd say put it here, where you would put the X, the Y, the Z. You obviously wouldn't be XYZ, it would be 0 or 28 or 637 or whatever that needs to be. Alternatively, if you knew the trigger point where you wanted to go, you could put that in here, whatever that trigger point is. It's a code. And you could also share trigger points with people you know to go, this scene looks really, really good if you play it at this trigger point, for example. And you could use that to create the exact scenes you wanted. So the downside is, if you've got an NPC like Dahak only exists in Act 1B. If this was functional and I clicked lower city, creche, lower city, whatever happened, and then I tried to run the scene with Dahak, it can't just pull him out of Act 1B, where we are, where he exists, and play him in Act 3B, which is the lower city. That doesn't work for NPCs. It will only work for global characters. So that's somebody like Astarion. Astarion is a global character. You can put him, and I do not know why he's all bloody, you can put him in any location, in any act, at any point, and it will work perfectly because it takes place where he is. Some other global characters are Alfira, Barkus, I believe Kazdor. Those are characters where if they are speaker 0, you can have that scene occur wherever you want, with some limitations. So some scenes will not work unless they're in the proper location. So what I'm going to do now is go through a slightly more complicated cutscene and show you how that can be triggered. So I've picked the Blood Merchant Aftermath, so I'm just going to quickly show you. So this is what that scene looks like. And you can zoom it out, put it in the full screen. I know you can't read them, it's too small, but if you are on a full screen, you can hover over them and you can see the details. And this needs to be tidied up a little bit. They drag down too far. It takes up too much space. So I'll tidy this up, but just for now, it's perfectly fine. So as you can see on the left-hand side there, they go left to right. But on the left-hand side in that first row, there are 3 outcomes. And that is because for this particular scene, it is depending on 3 outcomes. And the first outcome is, if you have not met Araj when you trigger this scene, you would get this top node that comes through. And it begins with, do you have a moment? I think we need to talk. And I will quickly just show you that one. Just how it starts.
Do you have a moment? I think we need to talk.
So that would be what happened, as I said, if you have not met Araj. Now, if you have met Araj and you did the objectively good and proper and noble thing and defended Astarion and didn't make him drink her horrible, horrible, awful drow blood, then you would get this scene, which is, I want to thank you.
I want to thank you.
So you can see his tent in the background. That is programmed in with the scene. So those theoretically, I believe, could be stripped out, and I may look at doing that because it doesn't happen very often. And then you would just have the ability, theoretically, on this scene, it would come up probably in the rules, and it would say, Rule 6, strip away tent, and you could turn that off and on. That's a little bit beyond my current abilities. I will look into it. It's not high on my priority list. So just going back to the focus point. So we've now done that. I want to thank you. I'm just going to quickly flick through this. And then if you happen to be an evil, horrible monster who should not be allowed around our precious baby boy Astarion, you would have him say, I can still taste that vile drow in my throat. That is when if you forced him to drink the drow blood. Let's play that.
I can still taste that vile drow in my throat.
So now we're going to go through, and I'm just going to reset that and show you how you can build your script. So as you can see down on the right here, it's got the script. So we're going to start with this do you have a moment one, and then I'm going to just tick my way through making some selections. And as you can see, I'm following this little gold suggested path. Now if you get to dialog options, path will split and you will have these choices, and you can just pick whatever path you want to get to where you need to be. And you can go back and you can still see, so this is still a little bit buggy, but if let's say I wanted to redirect, I'd originally picked this path down the bottom and I wanted it to be this one, I would click here, and it sometimes retains it, sometimes doesn't. I have to go through. So I'm just going to quickly make a selection, work my way through. You can also just click a start and an end point and it will make it up for you as you go. So if you look at the live dialog script on the right here, that has been building as we have been making it. So that's making your little script. So I'm just going to quickly go to my advanced tab. I'm going to turn on my allow dialog choices, and I'm going to lock it to the top window. So now we're going to go through, I'm going to minimize this, and it's going to create the script as a pop-up. So I'm going to move that to the side.
I think we need to talk.
So as you can see in gold, those are the dialog options. We can scroll through, and that is because of the script you've just created in your dialog choices. If you're trying to get to a certain point, you would have to make certain dialog choices. You'd have to make Dirge ask certain things to get where you needed to go. So this is for that, and you can just turn that off. As you can see, there's a don't show this dialog tracker again. This is mainly for content creators. If you're looking to get a specific soundbite and you have to work your way up to it, you don't want to accidentally press the wrong button and then go down the wrong path and not get the soundbite you were hoping for. So Astarion has just said, do you have a moment? I think we need to talk. So I've given you the ability to just cross that off. I don't know if you can see it. And then it is telling us that we make Dirge say about your undying love for me, about your undying love for me. Astarion's going to say something like that.
Something like that.
Look, I had a plan.
Look, I had a plan.
It was easy.
It was easy.
All I had to do.
And all I had to do was...
You're incredible.
You're incredible.
Oh, I love that so much.
You
And
deserve
then,
something real.
so then it was saying to Dirge, so do I. I just don't know.
I just don't know what real looks like.
Being close to someone.
Even
Even
though I
though
know things between
I don't know.
I don't know how else to be with someone.
And then of course Dirge's option is I care about you deeply.
Really?
Oh, how does that really not just break your heart? And then open your mind so he sees you care. Mind build, he'll say you're full of surprises.
You're full of surprises.
I have no idea what we're doing.
Honestly, I have no idea what we're doing.
And they'll hold hands, which is super sweet. And he says, and I know this is
But
nice.
I know that this is nice.
Oh, he's beautiful. So once that scene has played, you have done your scene. And let's say you went to go through and you realized that you'd made a mistake, or you just wanted to explore another path. Well, you click through, you change the dialog path, and you click your way through a new path. You just follow it through. Now if you go through, you can see these jump codes. I'm just going to show you quickly. These jump nodes, this gold line going down, 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 that's reconnecting you into another dialog node. Because these are all interconnected, this is how it works. So you can see all those lines, they are taking you to different boxes, because even though you could start off here or here or here, depending on your outcomes, the intermediary nodes in the middle here are all interconnected and overlapping, so you could find your way into getting what you want. So if you're looking for something else, so you want him to say, really, you can do a search up the top, find the exact scene you want, click it, figure out how to get your way there. Easy peasy. So I'm just going to show you the green screen mode, which is this is more a proof of concept test than anything else. So it was just very quickly whipped together by a modder named Rhino, R-Y-N-O. So what Rhino did is created a custom campaign map, basically. So we're in the custom creation character scene, and we're just going to quickly proceed through with Dirge. And once it loads, it is going to load, instead of being on the Nautiloid, we are on a green screen map. And it doesn't match yet, don't stress. When we finish it, it will just be all green, so the floor will match the walls. And the point of this is that if you can play this scene, you'll see what I mean.
Slept like a babe,
It removes
straight through
all the
the night.
backgrounds.
But what will you do? Somewhere Father Baal loves no death more than that of his...
So we're saying it removes all the backgrounds, it removes all the objects, it gives you less clutter in the background to deal with. So if you're trying to insert your own background for a clip or a picture, or you're trying to get a transparent image, something like that, this would be where you do it. So at present, this is a custom campaign map, so no other characters exist in this world, and there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. So this is just to prove that we could do this. And of course we have to adjust the lighting, which is why the lighting is also strange here. So what will happen longer term is it will not be a custom campaign map, it will be a room in each act, and you will be given the option just to teleport to it. So you won't be able to just stumble across it. You'd have to go to location, act 3, let's say where you are, and you'd select the sub-location or the location of green screen, and it would take you to this spot. And that would mean that you can boot any global speakers. So we previously talked about with speaker 1. At this point it'll only work if speaker 1 is Dirge, because the other characters don't exist in this world yet. But you will be able to boot it off any global character, or if you're in the correct act, boot it on any local character that is speaker 0. So this should be a fun little thing for creators. So a lot of people have asked about modded characters. They should work just fine. So I haven't implemented that yet to work with any external mods, but it should work fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this cutscene of Quedanos. So as you can see, there's Voss, Dirge obviously, and Quedanos, which I'm probably mispronouncing. And off he flies. So what I'm going to do now is pull up the SE command console and just manually put in this code that I've set up. I'm going to minimize that. So now we're going to watch this, and what that code just did was transform Quedanos into a modded character made by the modder Ardi Rengoku. Now Ardi also helped with the instant origins. They set up the initial template that I used to build everything off, so without Ardi we wouldn't have instant origins. Thank you, Ardi. And they have made this very cool custom dragon mod, which I don't believe they've released yet. So now that I've transformed Quedanos into this modded character, the mod is obviously enabled, I'm just going to play cutscene. And as you can see in the background, Quedanos is now blue. So this is the modded dragon character, which looks really, really cool. And credit to Ardi on that. So I think it's pretty much everything. So we've been through the cutscenes and how they work and how you can choose them. We've been through the speakers and how to transform them. We've been through the dialogue tree and how to create that. We have been over the flags. One thing I do want to mention is I'm going to put in a flag override option, which is for more advanced users. That will allow you to check the settings of any flag or tag, and then you can also manually override it. I wouldn't recommend that for the basic player, but if you know what you're doing, it'll give you the ability to do that. So one thing I am going to implement is a fail-safe feature. So for this scene you have these flags and these tags. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record from the game what these flag settings were before you ran this scene, and then restore them. So what that will do is basically give you a lot more flexibility to run this tool in the middle of an existing save without ruining your settings for your save unless you wanted to. There's always the caveat, of course, that anytime you run a mod on a save game, you run the risk of breaking it because it changes your outcome. So if you were playing through and you queued a bunch of scenes and you had Shadowheart as a Sharon in the scenes, but you're playing her down the Saloonite game route in your actual game, you're going to cause conflict, and you may end up going back to play ordinarily and not get the outcomes you expect because the game thinks you've done things that you didn't actually do. You did them through the tool. But I will put in that failsafe so it does restore it, so that should minimize it, with also always with that caveat, use at your own caution. We've been through the God mode. If there's anything you want added, I can do that. As long as there's an existing SE code for it, that's fine, just let me know. We've been through the Gossip tab, so that's my current work in progress, seems to be working so far. We've been through the Instant Origins, the EA scenes restored. So most of you know that there's a very, very good modder called Hyperspace Tau, who's been very helpful as well with this tool. They are creating the EA scenes restored mod, which is going to reintegrate EA scenes. So once they're done with that, I'm going to hook the mod with the tool, basically, so that if you have the EA scenes restored mod, and you do have to have it, this tool will not run this tab without it. The tool itself is not dependent on any other mods other than the SE command console. I'll talk about that in a second. But if you do have EA scenes restored, this would hopefully allow you to control those EA scenes just the way you've been doing these normal ones. My next plan as well is to hopefully be able to access the patch 1 to 7 data, and so you would be able to open up the quick actions on any scene you want and choose to play it as either the patch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or by default it'll be the patch 8, which is of course what I'm testing. So the most famous scene I can probably think that everyone would know about was during the Ascended Astarion scenes. Up until I believe patch 6, Tav looked scared of Astarion, but from patch 7 onwards, Tav is happy that Astarion has ascended. And depending on what sort of scene you were hoping to get, maybe for content creation or you just for your own headcanon, you could theoretically trigger between the patches. That would require you to download an extension, let's call it, to this mod, depending on which versions you want. But that's just to save you having to download a massive tool with all of those patches in it. You would just download whichever extensions you wanted, so patch 1, patch 2, patch 3, patch 4, patch 5, patch 6, 7, or you wouldn't download any of them if you don't care about that. It's just to minimize the space that this tool takes up. And then of course I've got my FAQ, which is just a bunch of questions I think that people might get confused about, and then there is the advanced. So just going to go through the advanced tab. It's not going to be very exciting. So here is the setup. So this is everything that needs to be done to set up this tool. Most of it, if you've ever run any mods, you've already done it, and it's very simple. Click button. First follow the instructions. You'll be able to do it in 2 minutes. Then you will need, or you don't need to, but you should build the mod, which is build the Anywhere You Want It mod. So this won't run because the game is running in the background, as you can see. You can also build the Instant Origins mod. Again, this won't build. So what that does is the Anywhere You Want It mod, this tool does not need the mod, it only needs the script extender. But if you wanted to do the Magic Mirror customization for NPCs that we talked about, then you would need the Anywhere You Want It mod. And also unlocking at-lock characters. So previously I was discussing about how characters cannot be moved outside the acts that they are in, so delock in Act 1B. That used to apply to transform as well. So if you were outside of Act 1B, you could not transform anyone into delock because he was locked. So what happened was a different modder, I happen to have their mod by coincidence, they had figured out how to undo this by essentially making every character global. I also had some help with a modder called Mazel who did a similar sort of thing. He has released a standalone mod called Oops All Globals, so if you're just wanting that function, I'd recommend downloading that. So this tool does not depend on either of those mods. I've basically recreated what they did on or what the anonymous modder did. He was fine with that on a smaller scale. And then the build any Instant Origins mod. If you've built an Instant Origin, it will build the mod automatically. It's just that if you happen to have been running Baldur's Gate in the background, maybe you've forgotten, you can just build the mod and it will recreate and keep all your origins. So just downloading, you can turn the script extender window on and off, and you can delete the script extender logs because they do take up some space if you do it too much. So the settings, so you of course can have it mute or not, and you can change the color scheme. So I'm just going to quickly show that. I'm going to also mute it. And I'll just quickly load up in the Gale color scheme. This does nothing. This is just a superficial change that I thought would be fun. Give a bit of variety to it. So there's about manual flag control, returning game flags. We talked about that a minute ago. Suppressing console checks. These are just some checks that try and make it so that you can't run a scene unless you have the game open and you have the SE console. But if you know what you're doing, you can suppress these. We've talked about the act jump locked. This is if you want to lock the tool to the window, so this is not on, and you click back, then the tool goes behind, but you can lock it and then you can move this in the background. You can set it to minimize when it runs. You can force a 3-second delay. That's if you want to do something, set up software, anything in the background. Running the code slowly. So what this does, what I found when I was running it on my very older computer, is that if I was trying to run a scene, because it sends so many lines of code at once and so much happens in the background, it would sometimes overwhelm the computer. So I've added this code in slowly where you can put in a delay. So that means that every line of the code will be sent every, let's just say you set it to 1 second, it would send it every 1 second. And that's to prevent your computer from getting overwhelmed. That's kind of annoying if you do have a fast computer, which is why it's an optional thing. But if you have a slower computer and you don't mind waiting an extra 10 seconds for the scene to load as opposed to your game crashing, that's what you do. and then of course minimizing SE console. I've also hooked in an automatic record. You do need external software to do this, so whatever program you use, you just trigger it to whatever hotkey that program uses, and then when you play a cutscene it will hit the hotkey automatically for you so that it will play. That's to save you having to record a lot of extra stuff at the start while you prep the scene, or if you forget to click the hotkey, or just in the few seconds between selecting scene and selecting that. It just gets annoying, so it just does it for you. The dialogue tracker, that was that script that we talked about, and the visual effects overlay was the pop-up that was allowing me to bruise and bloody and horrible up Astarion. The existing origins are all here, so it's a list, and it will remind you what you've set up, the people you have. You can turn them to active and deactive, so it keeps them in the game rather than having to delete the Instant Origins mod if you make too many. But what it will do, because obviously if you make a bunch of them, it will clutter up your custom creation scene, so you can just turn them off so they don't appear as origins, but they're still in your game and still accessible. And of course it shows you the new UID that gets made, and you can review what settings you had. What I also have done is some integration mods here. So this tool does not need any mods apart from the ones that you create as part of it. It's not dependent on anything else. So what I have done though, and this is with the modder's permission, is I have hooked it up so that if there are items, and this will not work in the background because I don't have the cheats on, but I'll actually show you that. So I don't have any of these mods on at the moment, so if I click this, nothing happens. But if I happen to have the Cheetah's Spell Scroll downloaded, or the Transmog Enhanced, or the Utam Armor Collection, or the Utam Weapons Collection, clicking these buttons would spawn those items in my inventory or next to me. And that's just to save time. So if you're working in the tool, it means that you don't have to go into the game and start fussing around trying to spawn these items. It's not dependent on it to run the tool. It is dependent to run this code. If you do not have the Cheetah's Spell Scroll, you cannot spawn it. It just sends a code. It doesn't create the tool for you. So I am happy to put in more of these mods that people would like, but it's not going to be just a case of for you to get a particular armor set you like. That's just something you're going to have to deal with on your own. It's so that if people have bigger mods that integrate. So for example, the easy die by Az, and I have not asked Az permission yet, which is why it's blacked out, because that's such a useful tool. But I know that a lot of people don't know how the MCM window works, so what this does, it will just open it and close it for you. And it just makes that a little bit easier. You are under no obligation to use any of these. You're not required. It's just mods that I found were really easy. So the Cheetah's Spell Scroll, of course, gets you access to spells in the tutorial. The Transmog Enhanced allows you to change the appearance of whatever item, so you could wear armor as camp clothes or vice versa, and the armor collection, weapons collection just gives you access to all the vanilla things in the game, nice and neatly organized, so that if you want them to be wearing a certain thing, that'll work. Whew. So it's been almost an hour, and if you're still here, you deserve a medal for your perseverance. And if you're not still here, you've bailed early because it was an hour-long video of me talking about a video game tool, then I completely understand, and I appreciate you taking the time to click anyway, even if you won't hear this. So if you want to follow me on Discord, that's where I do my more casual, chatty sort of updates, just giving people a heads up about what I'm doing, plans I have. If you want to get just more monthly updates, that would be where my Patreon comes in. So there is a free Patreon option, and you get the updates anyway. You don't have to pay. It's not anything behind a paywall. If you do feel so inclined, you can join the membership program, make donations, which is always appreciated. I also have a Ko-Fi if you just want to give a one-off. Don't feel obligated to donate. It's only if you can afford it. Don't stress if you can't. It will be released for free on Nexus when it's finished, and I'll also put posts other places as well. If you're at all inclined, I'm also writing a 3 million word fanfiction. No, it's a 4 million word fanfiction at this point, and that is the whole reason this tool exists, was because I was writing this fanfiction and I have an artist who's doing some absolutely incredible artwork for it, and I wanted her to be able to have reference pictures, and I found I was struggling to get the scenes I wanted, so I started from there, and it all frankly snowballed wildly out of control, but for all of your benefits. I think that's it. If there's anything else you want me to integrate into the tool, if there's ideas you have, if there's questions you have, things you could think of to make it better, if you're a modder and you want to help with the few scenes I'm having issues with, that is always really, really appreciated. Feel free to message me on Discord. I'm happy to give you credit for any problems you fix. That's about it. I wish I had a better sign off, but I really appreciate you. I hope you're excited, and stay tuned. Bye.